Hey scrapbookers, Trisha Morris here at Club Scrap with your Lavender Fields page kit. It's such a beautiful collection and I'm so ready for springtime. So let's get started with prepping all of our materials for our pages. I'm going to set aside all of the beautiful goodies, ribbons, get some buttons, some drawstring bags, and let's get sorting. Now I've pre-sorted to kind of speed things along, but I do like to do this step so I can stay organized as I'm putting things together. Speaking of organized, I do have an accordion pocket file here that I'm using, and if by now you don't have one, I highly encourage you to get access to the video and construct one for yourself. Now we have these pre-cut photomats, and let's file these in the pocket according to which layout they're going to be used on. We'll use 2 green and 2 cream pre-cut photomats on pages 1 and 2, so that will go in my first pocket. Then we have a 2 dark purple and 1 green will be used in layouts 3 and 4. 2 lavender and 1 dark purple will be used in layouts 5 and 6. And then 1 lavender and 1 cream will be used in layouts 7 and 8. All right. Then let's put our papers in the order in which we'll be using it. So I'll just go through this quickly. The first sheet is the field print, and then the dried lavender print. So it's designed to kind of with the lavender hanging from the top. We have a dark purple plain, a lavender plain. With this paper, you'll notice it has a texture on one side and it's smooth on the other. When you're trimming it, it doesn't matter how you have it in the trimmer. Then we have a sheet of cut-aparts. These are the border strips you'll find. And then another sheet of cream printed cut-aparts. 2 sheets of, this is a nice heavyweight stone color, and both of those go next in the pile. And then we have another sheet of the dried lavender print, a dark purple plain, 1 field print, and I believe it's 2 green plains, and then ending with the lavender plain. All right, let's get trimming. We have our instructions all printed out here, so just follow along and file along with me. The first lavender piece will be placed right side up into your trimmer. Hopefully you have the Fisker's guillotine. And we'll just make 2 simple cuts at 8 and 6 1/4. All we did was take a center piece out of it. So these 2 pieces, the one in the base of your trimmer and the narrow, are both used in layouts 7 and 8. And then the other piece, oh that's so pretty, is used on layouts 3 and 4. Next, let's take the cream drying lavender print and place it into the trimmer so that the lavender is on the right edge. We'll make 2 cuts. The first one's at 7 1/2, and then 5. Now let's take this 5-inch piece and we'll rotate it horizontally. It really doesn't matter which way you flip it, but just as long as you flip it so it's horizontal. We'll cut at 11 3/4, so that's going to create a tiny little strip. And then 11 1/4. It'll all make sense, don't worry. And 7 1/2, 3 3/4. So now I have 3 pieces, rectangular shape. They're all the same size and they all go into the pocket for layouts 5 and 6. Now we had those tiny little pieces. The least tiny of the 2 tiny pieces will be used in layouts 7 and 8, believe it or not. And this little guy, my friends, this I believe is your only scrap, like the only scrap from this whole process. So that one's not used. Then you have this narrow strip here. This is used in layouts 5 and 6. And this piece here with the lavender is in layouts 1 and 2. Okay, then I'm going to reach for the dark purple. This has a beautiful linen texture. We'll trim this one at 9 1/4 and 5 1/4. Rotate this piece so it's horizontal, and we'll cut at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. You just made 3 rectangular pieces. They all are used in layouts 7 and 8. And then you'll see also this narrow guy. We'll use him in layouts 7 and 8. Now you have this 4x12. That should be the piece that's right on the top of your stack. We'll trim this horizontally at 6. Stack these two pieces and put them in layouts 5 and 6. And then this long narrow strip is also in layout 7 and 8. Now to the lavender plain. This is a nice easy set of cuts here. The first one is at 10.5, and then 9 and 6. We'll trim this piece horizontally, the 6x12, horizontally at 8 and 4. And file these 3 rectangles that you made that are all the same size in pocket 3 and 4. And then you've got this 3x12 strip. We'll trim it horizontally at 9, 6, and 3. You just made 4 3-inch squares. Put one of them in the pocket for layouts 1 and 2, and the other 3 pieces will go in 3 and 4. Now again, if you're not using pockets, put them in piles. It just keeps us all well organized. So this strip, both strips are the same size. Put one of them in pocket 3 and 4, and the other in 5 and 6. Moving right along, we will go to the cream cut aparts. Let's trim these borders strips apart according to the small little registration mark in the upper corner of the sheet, and you'll see them at the bottom corner as well. Just line that up with the edge of your steel blade and trim. And this first cut is happening at around 10 3/4, but if you just visually follow that little registration mark, it'll do a good job. And let those pieces just stack up. All right, let's file these away. This home is where your mom is. Oh, and by the way, I'm using, I just realized, I forgot to tell you about this. We have the regular cut aparts that we designed for this collection, but we also have a Mother's Day version. All of the artwork looks the same. It's just that the quotes are more geared toward mothers on our Mother's Day version. So this is home is where your mom is. This gets filed into 7 and 8. So follow along with me. Either way, you'll be looking at the same type of artwork, just it'll say something a little different. This one goes into pocket 1 and 2. Then we have 2 narrow strips here with lavender buds on them. They go into 5 and 6. We have a pair of quotes here. Any day spent with you is my favorite day. Or yours might say, this world is but a canvas to our imagination. Those go into 1 and 2. This one says, Mom, a title just above Queen, 5 and 6. And this last quote here goes into 3 and 4. And then of course we'll grab our next sheet of cut aparts. These two are the Mother's Day version. So if you want to pick those up, you can find them on our website if you didn't already order them. Now let's rotate this piece so that we're trimming off the smallest piece from the bottom. Alright, so now this element, this one says Mom's Day. Otherwise it would say Picture Perfect is filed into 1 and 2. These two need to be separated. The larger piece with the word love goes into 7 and 8. And then Who's Who goes in 3 and 4. Mothers are endowed with a love. This one goes in 3 and 4. And I'll pick up the next strip. Once again, I'll place it in the trimmer so that the smallest piece is on my right. Perfume bottle, 7 and 8. Journaling prompt, 7 and 8, and I actually used this plain side up. Because I said so, every mom ever, 1 and 2. Simply Beautiful. This is going to be 5 and 6, or whatever yours says again. And this last one, I think the original says Stop and Smell the Lavender, 7 and 8. This vertical journaling prompt, 1 and 2. The little sprig of lavender with a quote, 7 and 8. This piece has just some script on it, 5 and 6. And this quote here that we end with is 7 and 8. And then we'll take our very next piece. This quote is used in 5 and 6. Then you have 2 circular shaped quotes. One of them is used in 3 and 4, and the other in 7 and 8. I did actually use a circle die to cut this into a circular shape, but that's entirely up to you if you want to do that. So 3 and 4, and 7 and 8. And then this sweet thing goes in 1 and 2. All right, that is all the trimming required for this entire page collection. So I'll get rid of the trimmer and we'll start doing some dry fit assembly. Let's begin by placing a stone 12 by 12 plane on our work surface. That should be the piece that is on the top of your pile. And this actually is the base for layout number 8. So if you're new to this, I start out with the 8th page and we stack and work our way up to page 1. That way if something gets misplaced, you can easily find where it lives before you adhere anything down. Okay, so from the pieces that we have here, we're looking for the really narrow little strip here at the end. And then we have a dark purple piece that should nest beautifully with this cut apart. Then we have a cream fotomat, our perfume bottle, and then our plain side up journaling bar. Journaling prompt fits perfectly to make like a little grid-like shape. And then you'll notice that there's this narrow dark purple strip and a nesting piece that will go with it. Now when you lay this onto your page, just make sure you give enough space between these 2 elements, because we'll take 1 each of 3 different designs of these darling lavender buttons and just adhere them to the bottom of the page with your favorite. I prefer the Club Scrap bookbinding glue and a needle tip applicator. It's the exact correct product for the job. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you about how I incorporated the lace into this side of the layout is I began by trimming a length just a little bit longer than the layout itself. So that's going to be about, say, 14 inches. Now you'll notice that there is a seam running through the middle of this lace. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I took a scissors and cut right along the center of the lace. Now I can get double duty out of this, and if you would like, you can attach the lace to the back with your favorite adhesive to the back of the cut apart, and then you can nest it back on top of the purple panel. You could also go outside and put it behind the purple piece as well. It's entirely up to you how you want to attach it. And then you do the same thing on the other side of this strip. Then also for this page, I used a drawstring bag, so adorable, and I took this quote and I actually put it inside the bag and just had it peeking out and attached it that way. One other little tip also is that I took the tag shape. This one says "Stop and Thank Your Mother," and I just folded it over on the end, and with a hole punch, I just punched a hole into this tag type thing. And you can even take some bookbinding glue, so you have a double thickness here, which is kind of nice. Then I took the drawstring on the bag and I just ran it through the hole twice, thus attaching it sweetly to this little bag. If you happen to have a corner chomper, is just round the top 2 corners of this little tag, and that just sort of adds a little bit of a special touch to that. Finally, I finished the whole works with my circular cut apart that I mean, if you don't want to cut into a circle, you don't have to, but I just did on mine. And then with a little bookbinding glue, I added this little gem. So let's take a peek at the finished page of the non-Mother's Day edition. So you can see the buttons, the bag, the tag, the quote. It all fits together exactly the same way. Oh, and then you can see I added one more little gem to this perfume bottle. It's just so, so beautiful. Well, let's slide the base for layout 7 on over. And I don't think I have quite as many tips for you on this one. So we're going to begin with layering the left side of this print here. And what I like about the remaining open space here on the stone base paper is that we can distribute our 3 dark purple mats onto that paper. Before I adhere them, of course, I'll use the 0 center of my grid ruler to help me make sure they're evenly spaced. And I always start by adhering the center piece first. Okay, so then I took yet another strip of this beautiful lavender lace, trimmed it a little longer than the page itself, and I actually used a heat tool to straighten my lace a little bit, just so that you know, if you do that, be careful not to burn it. It can get very hot, so others maybe use an iron on a cooler setting. But eventually it does straighten itself out on its own. And then a fotomat. This kind of tucked in underneath here, and this came up on top. Now, a tip also, if you'll notice the edge, I love the artwork on the edge of these cut-aparts, and you can even enhance that distressed feel if you happen to have one of these little distressing tools. You just rub along the edge of the cut-apart, and it sort of frays the edges a little bit. And all I did was just run around the 4 edges and vacuumed up the mess and then attach them to your layout. Oh, I left a little mess here, but that's no problem. All right, let's set that aside, and then I'll quick show you the finished layout. Here it is with everything adhered and the distressed edges of the cut apart right there. The base for layout 6 is this dried lavender print. And then you can dig into your pile of photomats and you're gonna find different sizes here. We have a larger one that's just a single mat, vertically placed on the right, and then we have 2 smaller ones that should nest beautifully with our lavender photomats. So it's just a nesting pair. And then I used this quote here combined with the script and a little gem to create a really unique embellishment. I'm going to just show this to you on the finished page and describe how I did it very quickly. I used a scissors to trim each line from the quote, and then I inked the edges with the amethyst ink and the club scrap ink applicator. I untwisted some of the raffia that we've included in your kit and made a little bow on the left edge of this, distressed the outside edges of the text panel, and I attached each line of the quote with some of our bookbinding glue and the needle tip applicator, and then finished with that little gem. And what a beautiful layout that makes. I absolutely love this. Now the base for the layout right next door, layout number 5, is a dark purple plain. And I just have a series of different border strips running across horizontally. I'm just going to get this out of the way here. So we start out with a portion of the dried lavender print at the top, and then we'll nest that with a 1.5 by 12 purple strip and then a title bar. Beneath that, I added a length of satin green ribbon, and you have the option there of adding a 3-part bow, which I've shown you how to do one in the past, where you can just look up online, club scrap 3-part bow, and learn how to make one. It's very, very easy. And then we have the sweet little border here. So I have a lot of horizontal bordering going on here, but it just kind of helps finish that off. And then we have our 3 rectangles anchored by another lavender border at the bottom. Now I also added some raffia and untwisted it on each one of these buttons and anchored them down at the bottom of the page here. And then in the location where I had my lavender bow, or my green satin bow, I just tucked in this little caption. So on the finished layout, you can see how I have that tucked in behind the bow. Actually, this is not a 3-part bow. It's just a different type of bow that I tied. That's my apologies. And then down here, you can see how I've threaded the raffia through the button and then just frayed the ends and trimmed them quite short. Of course, these are all attached with bookbinding glue. All right, we're moving along to layouts 3 and 4. There was something so magical about this field print. I don't know why. I just had a very difficult time covering it with anything, to be honest. So here's how I handled that. I simply placed a photomat horizontally onto the layout. And I tucked the quote right underneath it just so that it just takes up as little space as possible. Finally, I'll add, bring this up a little bit. This is why we don't glue everything down right away. I just added a row of three by three squares. And then you have a little bit of this lace left. I just trimmed off a piece of it, folded it in half, and then I taped it behind the left edge of this fotomat. That's all I did on this layout, just so simple. And the base for the neighboring layout, number 3, is going to be this green plain. And we are going to balance that field print with another portion of the field print on this side. And then 2 horizontal dark purple photomats paired with 2 lavender mats. This decorative strip here is a mate for the lavender strip. Oh, here we go. This is why we don't glue anything down either. This green mat slides behind the purple on that layout. My apologies. And down here we have the Who's Who. And then we'll finish this one with another little drawstring bag and a quote. Again, I do like it if it's in a circle, but again, that's not imperative. It's just kind of a neat way to finish it off. And I also just added one of these cute little gems. This is the finished version of layout 4 with just the lace all in place, and then layout 3 as well with the round circle and the gem to finish it off. Everything is out of my little organizer, and all of the materials for layout 1 are set aside. So here is the base paper for layout 2. And we'll begin with our long strip across the bottom here and accent that with the title strip. This is the second half of a 2-parter, so the other half is on the other page. And then we'll have some horizontal cream colored pre-cut photomats. And then we have this, it's all prepped. It's got your title, it has your frame and some journaling, and believe it or not, our 3x3 lavender fits right in there. This, my friends, is where I made a 3-part bow out of the green satin ribbon. And again, you don't have to do a 3-parter, and I'll show you what that one looks like. So here I frayed the outside edges of this piece, and then I put the 3-part bow here made out of the satin. It's so pretty. I love the 3-part bows because they are so nice and flat. Layout 1. Here we are, already to the finish line. This is crazy. I have exactly 27 minutes of live footage nonstop here, so it's impressive how quickly you can make a set of 8 pages, isn't it? Okay, so now we have 3 gems left, and those will be glued right to this title. You can do them in a row or however you like. And 2 green vertical mats. Of course, there's just enough lavender lace to just, I folded mine over sort of unequally and then taped the ends around at the back. That is just darling. And then, oh, forgot this guy. That was on the previous page down here. I took a scissors and just did a real rough outline cut of this element and placed it on top of the journaling prompt here on the left. Ta-da! The finished layout number 1. So this was lavender fields put together in only a matter of minutes. And I know I'm pretty quick with this, so if you are just starting out and it's a little too fast for you, don't forget to use your pause button and just stay calm. You might find it helpful to just watch all the way through to see how everything comes together, and then take your time and give it a try on your own. Best wishes, and I hope you enjoy Lavender Fields. See you next time.